If you want to be truly calm and present, you have to be willing to let go of the constant and compulsive identification to the sense of self in your mind, in your thinking. What am I talking about? Go to your experience right now. You are aware, correct? If I ask you, are you aware? And you go to check that, there is this sense of I am. There is this sense of aware spaciousness within which your experience arises. And this sense of self, this ego, arises as thoughts in the mind which tell a story about you or who you apparently think you are. You see, you are this awareness within which this story of you arises. And it's the constant and compulsive identification to that story that perpetuates so much anxiety and suffering. So the answer is to be finding out the truth of who you are, realizing the truth of who you are through this investigation, through becoming aware that you are the awareness within which your experience arises, and noticing the still, peaceful spaciousness that is apparent when awareness is shone upon itself. There's a kind of stillness, there's a kind of spaciousness. And it's within this knowing, realizing yourself as the perceiver of your experience, that a kind of peaceful liberation comes. Because you're dropping into being, you're dropping into that space before thought. You see thought arise within your awareness, but you don't just compulsively identify with this character in the story in your mind. You're able to see that story play out, see the mind do its thing. But you're able to stay rooted in being, rooted in the truth of who you are, knowing yourself as this aware spaciousness. Perhaps sometimes the story catches you. Perhaps sometimes these thoughts arise in your mind that say a story about how you messed up or embarrassed yourself or did something wrong. And this suffering that comes when you identify with that character and you feel the pain and suffering of that character in the story, where the character's hard done by or confused or lost or not enough or not worthy, not valuable enough, lovable, so much guilt, shame that is in this story in the mind, often for so many people. And so can you imagine going through your life just identified with this story, feeling all the pain and suffering that's generated through the identification to that story? Because it does generate a lot of pain and suffering when you identify it, when you identify with it. It plays out some story about you. It reflects on the past. It sees some kind of interaction between you and a friend you fell out with or an ex-partner, plays back some narrative, some story where something went wrong. It was this terrible embarrassment or loss. Perhaps sometimes these positive memories come up, but they're of someone that you are no longer around. And there is that lamenting. So it's important to be able to feel these bodily sensations that arise, and be able to feel the body from the inside by noticing the sensations that arise within the body, that really arise within your experience. They are feelings, that sensations that arise within the body. And if you just pay attention, you may feel some aliveness or tingling or discomfort that's in this spaciousness that you are. And it doesn't matter whether it's particularly uncomfortable or comfortable. If you just boil it down, if you take all the labels off and you become intimate with the raw sensation, you see that it is just sensation. And there is this ability for you to be knowingly the spacious awareness within which that feeling arises. Know that this awareness you are can't ultimately be disturbed by this feeling, and allow the feeling to be there. And as Eckhart Tolle said, pain body is dissolved by the light of our awareness. Pain body being these sensations, sometimes uncomfortable. The jitteriness that lurks in the background with many of us, compounded over time by all these fearful, anxious thoughts, which builds up these tensions, which builds up these energy fields in the body, which only really start to get dissolved when you step back into presence and you allow them to be there. You stay as the awareness prior to the compulsive and constant identification with this story and having the attention contracted down onto this story. You zoom back out. You be knowingly the spaciousness. Sometimes the story captures your attention. Sometimes you use the thinking as the powerful tool that it is. You may plan something. You may believe something positive about yourself in the sense that you are perhaps able to do some creative activity, follow through on some project or business adventure. Business venture, I said adventure, but it is a kind of adventure as well, isn't it? So yeah, being present with those processes, allowing those divine desires to arise, and just be in flow with them, not taking everything so seriously and so heavy through this constant mind identification. It's unconscious. So awakening is awakening from that dream of thought, from the dream of thinking, from the dream of being lost with your attention in that cognitive landscape, that story, that theatre of the mind. Stepping back, noticing the awareness that you are, forgiving yourself when you get distracted, coming back to the home, to the truth of who you are, making your home as awareness, taking a stand as awareness, as Rupert Spira might say. Resting as the presence that you are. And if you want help going deeper on this, transcending through these layers, coming into deep presence, using that energy to create, then you can make an inquiry about the Consciousness Revolution program over at speaktoalex.com. You fill in the form, tell me a bit about what you want to overcome, the particular challenges, and where you want to get to, and we can have a chat about what it would be like to potentially work together, if that's appropriate. See you in the next video. Peace.